Hey, good morning. Bonjour, bon matin, and bonjour on Cajun. Hey, welcome to That's Life with Evolution. I am your host, Evolution, and I have a very special guest today, Mr. Jerry Deskovic. How you doing, Jerry?
It's Jeffrey, but I'm great. How are you?
Oh, Jeffrey, sorry about that.
No
We'll make
worries.
that correction. Welcome to the show. For
Thanks.
those who do not know who you are, and what you do. Could you give us a little bit of background on you?
Of course. So I'm an attorney, and I run the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice, a nonprofit organization which I founded. Our mission is to free people who are in prison for crimes they're innocent of, as well as pushing for policy changes aimed at preventing those injustices from happening in the first place. I have a master's degree in criminal justice. My thesis is written on wrongful conviction causes and reform. And I got into doing that advocacy work because I was exonerated myself. I
Hmm.
served 16 years in prison. I was arrested when I was 16 for a murder and rape which I didn't commit, which happened in Peekskill in Westchester County, the suburbs in New York. I lost a trial when I was 17, spent 16 years in prison. Ultimately was exonerated through further DNA testing through the DNA data bank, which not only established my innocence but simultaneously identified the actual perpetrator. So
Wow.
that's who I am, and my life is just a life of making a difference and fighting wrongful conviction. Working to free people like me and preventing what happened to me from happening to others, while also having a strong secondary interest in general justice reform.
Wow, man, that's incredible. Again, welcome to the show. Heck of a deal you got going on there. And my hats off to you for what you're doing now. And I congratulate you on what you've been through and came uh, came through to be successful in what you're doing now. On That's Life with Evolution, what we do is we present a subject, and sometimes you're on the left or right. And what we do is provide extra information to bring you in the middle or help you understand on how to make things better for what you got going on in this subject. And before we get into the subject and last question for the day, I'm going to go ahead and get the sponsorship out the way. JG's Lounge, TGBTG, Golden Diamond Productions, Vibe, VYV, comes in a little vial. You shake and sniff it. And if you're moving a little slow or sluggish that day, it gets you going. Help support the show and get a little discount on Vibe. Go to myvibe.com and use the code Lution15, Lution15, and get that going. Now, today's subject is childhood games, structure, involvement, interaction, etc. Um, so it's a little bit different than what you're normally used to, but that's the whole purpose of today, is to bring light in a different direction. And the best way we do that is by getting it going with Leia's question. Here we go. So, last question of the day when it comes to the subject childhood games, structure, involvement, interaction, and etc., is what are the differences, or what are the different effects of childhood games back then compared to modern games now? Um, and I guess the best way to get into that is kind of highlight the types of games that we went through back then. First one I have on the list is wiffle ball. You got any experience with wiffle ball, sir?
I do. I used to play wiffle ball, and as a matter of fact, oh, the day the crime happened, I was actually I told my lawyer this that I was playing wiffle ball with a friend in his backyard. We came up with this rather innovative way of playing wiffle ball one on one, and so therefore it would have been impossible for me to simultaneously be across town committing the crime.
Right.
So yes, I do have experience playing wiffle ball.
Man, that's amazing that you mentioned that because I have a story that's very similar to that myself. Um, I had a friend when I was younger named Brian, who came to his grandmother's house, who lived up the street from me, and we played wiffle ball in his backyard, or her backyard. And for our age, I think we kind of excelled at him. He excelled at pitching, and I excelled at hitting. So it was an intense uh, uh, game every time we got in the backyard because he wanted to make sure he struck me out, and I
Yeah,
wanted to make sure I hit a home
homer.
run on him.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was a great summer every time he came to his grandmother's house. So
Sure.
we were very challenged. We always wanted to prove that we were the best, and I guess the point that I can make with this particular sport uh, is it brought the best out of us. As kids, we had a goal in mind, and we challenged ourselves and made each other better by him wanting to strike me out, and I wasn't gonna let him, and I wanted to hit a home run, and he wasn't gonna let me hit a home run. you
Right,
got
right.
What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So look, you crack. First of all, you're cracking us, making me crack a smile, which is always a wonderful thing. But you
Okay.
also remembered me of a few details. So one of my childhood best friends, Jason. So we were always in competition with each other on
Mhm.
everything. And I just what you made me think of, which I hadn't thought about in decades, is the way in which we played the game one on one. So we had this. It was like a net. It was like metal bars. It was like a square, and it was a net, and it really was supposed to be for a totally different sport. But the way that we
Mhm.
did it, and we're taking turns batting and pitching and keeping the outs and the score and the innings. But if you could hit the ball, if you could hit the metal bar with that ball, then
Mhm.
typically you'd be able to get a strike on your opponent because you probably wouldn't swing the bat. The offensive player probably wouldn't swing the bat. You're thinking that's going to be out the strike zone, and then if you
Mhm.
manage to just nip the thing, then we would get the strike. Then we would get the strikeout. So that was one way. And the second thing, obviously, if any of us hit a pop up, not like a line drive, which would have been impossible to catch, but a,
Mhm.
but a pop up, then you're going to suddenly run from, where you're supposed to, where you're pitching. The pitcher's bound, run around trying to catch the ball. And we had bases, but it wasn't an actual base. It'd be like the tree, the garbage can, and this thing in the dirt over here, and then there was home. And so the rule was as soon as you could grab the ball, then the runner
Mhm.
would be stuck on that base. But if you ran over third and you trying to score, you could hit each other with the ball. And if you hit with the ball, then the runner would be out.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah, sounds like a lot of fun.
there it
I know
was.
I know I had an enjoyable experience back then. I really had fun putting this show together today. Brought back so many memories. The next uh, childhood game on the list is hide and go seek. Uh, I did a lot of that as a child. What is your experience with that? Do you ever have any hide and go seek moments?
Yeah, absolutely. We used to play hide and go seek, and there was a huge tree like in the we called it the big tree. Actually, it was a yard in the front part of this apartment complex, and
Mhm.
that would be that would be the base also. So yeah, we used to run around playing hide and go seek. That we had like a bunch of kids together, and
Mhm.
we would play that game. And we would also play a similar game. It was called Jailbreak, which is like another version of it. But there would be like teams, of like 4 and 5 people on each side. And you have captains,
Mhm.
and you divide up the team, and the idea is, can the jailers are supposed to try to get everybody there to the jail without the other team breaking everybody out. So you can run to where that is and tag to free somebody. But of course, they're going to keep somebody back there to try to watch. And
Uh,
so that was yeah, that was a lot of fun too.
absolutely. So when I played hide and go seek, we had like a grapevine and a berry vine on the side of our house, and we had this pear tree. Um, they could never find me because I would always climb the pear tree, and I'm just up there snacking on pears, and they're looking all around, and it was just a lot of fun. they never decided to, or wanted to look up. They always wanted to look around. So, and if I wasn't in the pear tree, I was around there where the grapevines was, and just snacking on grapes. So,
You're right. I remember one more thing. I think the way that we played is if someone saw you, right, then they have to run to some. They have to run immediately and be able to like tag like the tree. But if you
uh-huh.
got caught, you got to try. If you can get to the tree first, if you get
Hmm.
to the tree first and tag, then you were home free. So
Yeah.
as soon as someone spotted you, it was like the reflexes kick in, and then you like running as fast as you possibly can.
Oh yeah, reaction and engagement and all that. So the benefit of these games as children, you know, help communication and interaction and just kind of a team environment, I guess, to where you build your character, you build your abilities, and just the way you got along with people. What are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree with that, and I want to
Mhm.
add also there is an element of critical thinking, like where are you going to hide at, and even when
Mhm.
you're captains, you're picking the team, and you have a rationale why you're picking one person first and who's your next pick, and all of
Mhm.
that. I was always considering what's the total pool of players and what are their skills, and who's the most important person to have and who's the
Mhm.
next most, and
Uh-huh.
like that. So yeah, all of that. So I wanted to add just the critical skills.
Absolutely. A lot of decisions had to be made spontaneously as well. Um,
Yes.
so the next one I have here is basketball, and the reason I brought that up, I mean, even though it's still around today, it's played a little different than what it was played back then. We were
Right.
more defense oriented. We brought a lot of energy and focus to the game, and just got a lot of exercise um, as far as how we put our efforts into to get the W. You ever play basketball?
Yeah, I used to play basketball a lot as a kid, and
Mhm.
actually later on in prison, playing basketball was somewhat of a key to a survival with my foundation having been established when I was a kid. But long
Mhm.
story short, you know, when I felt when I needed to leave the prison, like but mentally. So when I
Mhm.
would play basketball, I would pretend like I was a professional player, and so was
Mhm.
everyone else. And the gym was the road, the armory was for home games, and I would
Uh-huh.
pretend that the people on the sideline were the fans, and
Uh-huh.
I could imagine the crowd going wild and the color commentary going on, and this leads to a timeout and all of that stuff. I was thinking all of that, but it was much more, of course, than just like kids fooling around on a playground. I mean, this was like a defense survival tactic. So I needed to leave for a couple. So doing that delusion, and that would apply also when I was playing ping pong, and but then I'm a tennis player and playing chess. But all of that was just foundational. And what I again is just the idea of teamwork in basketball, and going all out to achieve goals. Because like you, I tried to play the total game with it all
Mhm.
starting on the defensive end and
Mhm.
rebounding and making hustle plays. So I equate that to hustling, paying attention to details. Leave it all. Even now, sometimes I don't have a way of summing up. I might just say, well, to use a sports analogy, leave it all out on the court.
Absolutely, absolutely. So a game like this basically built your creativity and your imagination skills um, to help broaden your thought process. Would you agree?
I would agree. Yes, yeah, I absolutely would. And then also, just being willing to consult and accept advice when it was sound. Because when I would play, I would accept coaching and tips
Ah,
from the other players, but
okay.
I would also give them as well. Listen. So let's try that again. This time you do this, or go down here. I'm gonna throw it in. They're gonna double team. Throw it out to me, and then when you throw it out, try to get even deeper position, because the ball, as soon as I get it, it's coming right back into you again. And either you're going to do a fast shot, or if they double you a second time when you throw it out, I'm going to have the open jump shot, because they're not going to be able to collapse once, come out, go back in, and still come out. That last run, I'm going to have the spacing that I need.
Absolutely. So not only was it helpful for your creativity and your imagination. It was also constructive criticism, listening, and communication involved as well. Um,
Right, as well as kind of like mentoring and teaching, also like lifting people up. So yeah, that would be, of course, when I was the one who was giving it, because I both accepted coaching but also gave some.
Absolutely, it's boosted your confidence, so to
Yes,
speak.
absolutely, so to speak.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
so all right, so the next one here,
Let me
I
ask you one
have.
more thing. You mentioned that playing the right way. I just want to add. I feel like so many fundamentals are missing from today. Whether we're talking on the basketball or even,
Hmm,
I dare say, on the NBA level, I feel like there's
hmm,
this overemphasis on one-on-one play, and too
uh-huh,
many people would rather go up for some off-balance wild shot while surrounded by two or three defenders, as opposed to hitting the open man for an uncontested shot. Yeah,
uh-huh,
and I would love things like get pick and roll, pick and fade. I love to do a give and go.
absolutely.
I'd love to feed the post, and then I'm going to cut to the basket to get it back for a layup.
Uh-huh. So you're talking about basic fundamentals, and which always work, especially when you're playing as a team. Um, yeah, I think it's too much of that individuality going on in the sport today, especially in the professional field. They always want to get their personal highlights instead of focusing as a unit
Right.
to win the basketball game. And sometimes when you hear of the players during the interview afterwards in a loss, they have the attitude, "Well, I did my part," so the other team or the rest of the team didn't do theirs. It's just uh, kind of a messed up way of thinking and looking at things. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that's all part of the unit, part of being one. I mean, look, are you out there to actually accomplish goals, or are you just looking, are you just looking just promote, just to promote yourself? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just a padding stats, and I mean, the idea is to try to win. And I feel also that over that this type of overemphasis, it takes away from players people being willing to accept roles. Not everybody is the scorer. That might get the attention, but what about the point guard that's bringing the ball up and down the court? What about the people that's getting rebounds, without
Hmm,
which you don't even have a possession? What about the people passing the ball?
absolutely. Well put. Great points. And I totally can identify with what you're saying as a basketball player myself. Yeah, that is right on point. So the next sport I have here listed is kickball. Um, Go ahead. I see that
Oh,
smile. Go ahead.
that was my favorite sport as a kid. Oh my God, I used to play kickball I used to play the kickball all the time, and
Uh-huh.
I love that when you're trying to score, or stretching a single to a double to a triple, and
Hmm,
the throw is coming, and you got to
hmm.
dodge out of the way. And then I was very competitive on defense, as well, and sometimes to mix it up. From game to game, I would switch positions so I could play the infield, but I could also play the outfield. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes, depending on who the kicker was, we might switch up. Hold on, I'm gonna come in the third, and you replace me out there in the outfield, because it's more likely that the ball is coming to third. So scouting reports, but that was a lot of fun. I don't know why it's never became a professional sport, but I kid you not. If they ever make it a professional sport where it's for pay, I don't care how old I am. Okay, as long as I'm able to still run, and I know back issues and no leg, if I can still, I'm gonna try out.
Oh,
I'm gonna
there you
try to
go.
play.
you know, um, I can agree with that. It was a lot of fun playing kickball. I was one of the people who like to kick it really, really far,
Sure.
and just that way I could just cruise my way around the bases. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of strategic analysis that goes into the who's pitching the ball, who's kicking the ball, and where you position the people in the field. So a lot of fun, and I'm with you. We'll be trying out together.
Yeah. All right. There we go.
um,
Listen. We'll tell the team, look, we're a package deal, okay? So you got to sign both of us or none of us.
there you go. Add some wisdom and experience to the team.
Yeah, there we go.
uh, so the next one here I have is dodgeball. Uh, do you have any experience with dodgeball?
I do, I do. In fact, I'll share a quick vignette, a story. So I remember in gym class during grade school,
Mhm.
I would play dodgeball, and I remember that I remember it was like all of my teammates were like out, and
Mhm.
there was still four or five players from the other team. I mean, their team just basically overwhelmed our team, and
Mhm.
but I was better than they were, and I still wanted to try to fight and catch the ball and hit them out, and they'd all start yelling, and my team that's all out, they'd all start yelling at me.
Oh
Yo,
no.
just let him get you out, so that we start the next game, we can all get back in, and I remember that I initially wouldn't do it, and I got a couple of them out because they threw the ball as hard as they possibly could,
Hmm.
and it blew my chest up. But I held on to that ball.
Oh.
But I held on to that ball. I had a red mark underneath my T-shirt, kid, but I held on to that ball. Yeah, so I had memories of that, and when I would even play like pickup games in the apartment complex.
Mhm.
I knew what players could catch and who couldn't, and I would try
Mhm.
to hit the ones that couldn't. I would just regular throw. But if I was playing against people that could catch, I would
Mhm.
try to throw the ball in a way where it's actually going to hit it's going to hit the front part of their sneakers so that they can't catch it. I'm either going to get them out that way or they'll pick it up on a bounce and they're going to try to hit me and I'm going to
Uh-huh.
directly and I'm going to have a good chance to try to hold on to that ball.
That's funny, and also when you was talking, it reminded me of a dodgeball game that I had. I was late for class that day, and I guess the punishment that the teacher wanted to put on me was I had to play dodgeball, me against the whole class. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, I'm a competitor, so I took the challenge, and I held my own for a very long time, and I think they were getting frustrated because I kept catching their balls and moving out the way. So they tried to start throwing all the balls at the same time, and they would miss because I would just jump out the way one way or the other, and I almost went the whole class period. And
Wow.
the teacher even got frustrated, so she jumped in and she threw rockets.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
she threw rockets. So I wasn't trying to catch her balls. I was just trying to avoid them. Uh, but it was a great day. Everybody was, like getting frustrated because they couldn't hit me and get me out. But it was a very good day, and I had a lot of fun. I was tired
Yeah, I'm
after it was
sure.
over with, but the teacher was the one that ended up getting me out, and how she got me out is exactly what you were talking about. She got me on the foot, the toe of my
Ah.
foot.
Right.
So genius move by the teacher, and even though she was frustrated, but I had a lot of fun that day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The last old school game, childhood game I have here is volleyball. Do you have any experience with volleyball?
Yeah, I do. I remember. Yeah, I played volleyball. I remember a story, and we were playing uh, I want to say it was like a 5-on-5 game, and I remember there was one sequence where, like I hit the ball back like two or three times, and another
Mm-hmm.
time the ball went clear over my head, and there was this girl on the team, and she was very good also, and so she went running after the ball. It was almost like she became a wide receiver in football, where she's going to make the over the head catch,
Uh huh.
So she went running after the ball, and somehow both her hands hit and the ball managed to go back over the net, and I batted the thing back and forth. And then there was one more. She made like this diving. She made this dive, whereas she like again like a baseball player, like what she just spread out and on the
Uh
way down with double hands, caught the damn
huh.
thing, and it went over. And they weren't able to return it, and
Oh wow.
so the recreational staff member that was there just said, thank Jeff and Nicole for that point right there.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Uh, so these games were challenging and competitive. Uh, and like you just mentioned, you also get recognition for your actions and how you react and make great plays, which to me would probably definitely boost a lot of things as far as your enthusiasm and outlook in life, or outlook as you as a personal person um, involved in these sports. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think it also makes the point that sometimes helping to advance somebody else is
Mhm.
how you ultimately get advanced yourself. So I mean, you can just hit the ball back over the net on your own, but the better move is you want to hit the ball in the air to set up a teammate to then attempt to make a strike.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I feel like it works that way in the business setting. In the business setting, you mentor somebody, you give somebody else a boost. They might, they move ahead, but then
Mhm.
later on, they may be reaching back down. You never know who while you're who's on the way up, who you're gonna meet on the way up. If they pass you, they can reach down and pull you with them.
Absolutely. And what I want to highlight right now is all these particular games that we're mentioning help you develop in so many ways as a child, or as an individual growing up. And each one of these games, as you build skills with one of them, you can take that same skill to the other game, and it makes you better. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with that point. And as a concrete example, I mean, just endurance, and then also, just in terms of strategy. I mean, I think when you think strategy of one sport, I mean, that can certainly that can translate to another. So in life, when you learn something from an experience,
Mhm.
when you're in a similar situation, even if it's not exactly the same,
Uh-huh.
but it's different, but it has some similarity, you can apply what you learn from one setting to another. I mean, certainly, just from playing wiffle ball and running the bases,
Hmm.
that would lend itself to running the bases in a game of in a game of kickball, and dodging
Absolutely.
out of the way when they're trying to get you out in kickball. That has an application in dodgeball.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I want to point out about these sports. They develop so many things in character and whatnot, and make people from our generation stronger in the work environment, stronger in society, just adaptable to whatever environment that comes our way. And we're going to switch gears right now and talk about the types of games today. um, I'm gonna go to soccer because soccer is presented a lot more stronger today than it was when we were growing up.
Yes.
Um, and my son played soccer; he was really good. But the structure of soccer is a little different. But just want to see if you have any experience in soccer.
I do. So I remember. So I remember just being, the different. I don't know the names of the positions, but all the position players in soccer, other than the goalie. Okay, I wasn't good at that. Okay, I really wasn't good at being able to. Well, it's not called dribbling. It's not basketball. I wasn't good moving the ball around with my feet. I wasn't good at passing the ball with my feet.
Mhm.
But I found a position where I was good at, and that was goalie. So
Uh-huh.
I like being the goalie. But I remember my fun memory of that is I remember I initially said, "Look, I'm not playing no soccer, man, no more. I'm tired. I'm tired of getting kicked all over my legs." Because when people try to steal the ball with their leg, I'd
Mhm.
get kicked in the ankle area. But then someone suggested, "Why don't you try playing goalie?" And that was more to my skill set. So I feel like life lesson there.
Mhm.
Trying to play to your strengths. To
Absolutely,
look
absolutely.
different. Is there a different aspect of this that lets me participate in the whole?
And you said a lot there, and I want to highlight what stood out to me is the games that we grew up playing were developing your use of your hands and how you work with your hands. And soccer is more concentrated on working with your feet and your legs, which I don't know how that helps you in society or whatnot. But it's a lot of exercise. It is fun and it can be challenging, but there's a huge difference between, I think, a game where you focus on using your feet and your legs versus where you focus on using your arms and hands. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a tremendous difference. I mean, I could see where it. I mean, it definitely it definitely teaches you endurance, though. I mean, to run
Hmm.
up and down, you have to be conditioned, and ultimately
Hmm.
that translates to endurance. And really, there's no scoring at all possible if there isn't maximum teamwork. It's not like basketball where you could just get be the person that the basketball is inbounded to, and you run the length of the floor and you just pull up for your own jumper, and there was really no assistance needed at all other than
Right,
the
right.
inbounder passing it to you. But such a thing is really not possible in soccer. So emphasis on the necessity of teamwork.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the next one here I have is it's not just plain football, but flag football. This kind of introduced later. Um, I'm from the old school where we played tackle football, you know,
Yes.
which was a lot of fun, and we love to pound each other and we play to make the other person feel the impact of our presence. I'll say it like that.
Yeah. Right.
In flag football, not so much. You just after this little flag. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you. Flag football is a much different game than playing tackle football. I used to play tackle football as a kid all the time, like you, no pads,
Hmm.
on the grass, and it was a lot of fun doing it because you alternate between. I mean, I was on offense. I was always a wide receiver. I wasn't good at throwing the ball, so I wasn't going to
Hmm.
play quarterback, and then of course I would play defensive back, more than being the linebacker. Although sometimes, again, you're counting one Mississippi, two Mississippi, three
Right,
Mississippi,
right.
and I think it was like five or six Mississippis, and then you could come after the quarterback, and
Uh
then you kind of
huh.
tag the quarterback, and we had the rule, of course, that it had to be a solid two hand touch, otherwise the offensive player could call pity pat, and that would
Yeah.
cause a weak tackle, and they could break the tackle, kind of like in. Memory of that was I remember I was playing 2-on-2, and uh, I got a hold on defense. I grabbed a hold of this player that he was much bigger than me. I couldn't bring him down, so I was holding on to his legs and trying to stop him from scoring.
Uh
And my teammate was on the ground. He was yelling, "Little man, hold him so I can get
huh.
there." And I did, and I
Yeah.
did.
That's awesome. Uh, so it build um your your focus on strength.
Yes,
You had a lot of different, especially in football. You got the bigger size players that can kind of overpower you,
sure,
and then you have the smaller players like who are catchers and for out there for speed. Um, that's a whole new different dynamic of setting. However, the challenge is still there, and you learn to play with all different types of players on the same field, uh, which to me would definitely strengthen your outlook in how you view things. What are your thoughts?
yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think from a young age that it taught me really to confront things like head on. So when we just gave up a score, and then as we're walking back to our end zone, getting ready to get the ball, one of we yell at who's receiving, and and some of the other kids would yell, I'm not going to receive. I'm not going to look. I'll receive. Don't worry. I'll receive. Just block. Just block. When I catch the ball, and I'm going to catch the ball, okay, y'all block, and then I try to run through a path. So
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
yeah.
So in
So
other
sometimes
words,
the best way to get a goal is to confront it head on, rather than trying to dodge and avoid.
absolutely facing the challenges.
Yes.
I love it. We're headed right in the direction that this whole purpose of this podcast is. about today. Are you getting it? Are you getting what we're doing?
Yeah, we're talking about. I think that we're talking about life lessons learned from childhood sports.
Bang! Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to get into video games because that's strong on what we're what the type of games are today. Um, our games were physical, uh, challenging, mentally challenging. In some cases, um, with the video game era, uh, when they invented Atari, Sega Genesis, Nintendo, Wii, PlayStation, Xbox, so on and so forth, changed the whole dynamic of entertainment and things that children do as far as having fun. It's more of them just sitting down, using their fingers, thumbs, whatever, uh, and interacting verbally, I guess, uh, when they compete online or whatever. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like the emphasis on games previously, was really. Um, I feel like it was action type games,
Hmm.
and games that were like based on sport or competitive, whether it was Excited Bike. Like I played a lot of like original Nintendo, so whether it was say, Excited Bike or Double Dribble,
Uh-huh.
basketball,
Yeah.
ice hockey, or Blades of Steel. Now I feel like the games are all it's all like violence, shoot 'em up, and
Mm-hmm.
blood and gore, and it just it doesn't feel as healthy to me. And my quick memory is again with my childhood friend Jason that we were playing the wiffle ball with. So he makes another appearance here, just in talking about video games and Nintendo.
Uh-huh.
So I remember this elaborate way that we played Double Dribble, which was of course the basketball game for original Nintendo.
Hmm.
And beyond just playing the game, like we came up with like a league, and we each divided up. We each picked like 5 teams, and we had it to where like a total of 6 teams would make the playoffs, and we would pretend like what team we're playing. It was far beyond the 3 or 4 different jersey colors on the game. We would pretend this is that team and other team, beyond that, and we would keep record, and we would have a regular season, we would have a playoffs,
Hmm.
and while we were doing all of that, we were simultaneously doing the play-by-play commentary, copying from Rick Berry and Skip Carey and
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and Marv Albert. And then
Uh-huh.
in addition to that, we would also like interview each other as well. At the same
Okay.
time, we would do that on basketball or even RBI baseball, and we would interview each other while doing the color commentary, while playing the game, with everything going down in the record. So in the record book, it was it was elaborate. It was,
Absolutely. Wow. So
but let me
these
say,
type.
I think it was more of an emphasis on balance back in the day, though, because there was
Wow.
all these physical things in person, which I think is critical, just in terms of social skills, socialization, like a kid being a kid,
Mhm.
as opposed to now. I feel like there's an overemphasis on video games, being sedentary, being in the house, not even necessarily having in-person interaction, because it may be you're playing somebody on online, and
Mhm.
then all these different games on social media where everybody's kind of like hooked onto their phone. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think that everything is I don't think it's quite as healthy as what it was before. I mean, I'm not saying there's something wrong with playing a game on the phone, but if you got to be on the phone all the time, and if that's your way of interacting and playing games with people, as opposed to going outside, learning some of this teammate stuff, and getting to know people, the socializing, and a healthy way of letting energy out, having a healthy outlet, because it's all just the video games, the blood and gore, and the phone. I don't think that that's as good for kids. I think the other way is healthier.
I totally agree, and that's exactly my point with what we're doing today. These video games, they're more geared towards, I guess, your intellectual. stimulation as far as your thinking and how you view things and respond to them through the controllers. You know, I guess that's good for some things, but like you said, it's not geared towards healthy conditions or getting exercise or breathing heavy because you're doing a lot more than you would normally do on an average. Um, that's great. And then you mentioned cell phone. Of course, there's a lot of games on cell phones as well, like Candy Crush, like Tetris puzzles, and uh, dominoes. I play dominoes on my phone.
Really? Well,
uh,
I didn't even know
yeah,
you could, but I guess yeah. Why wouldn't you be able to, right?
yeah, right. I mean, there's so many opportunities now just on the cell phone to keep you occupied. Just like you said, spending way too much time on your cell phone. Um, but these things right here, um, compared to the things we did, uh, total complete difference. Like you said, the balance. Um, it helped you balance. It was action based. Um, you know, it made you more of a take charge or a now type of person. You know, you respond quickly, you jump on it, you act on it, and you get things done as opposed to what's going on now with the video games. It kind of makes you, for instance, if you get out or if you get killed in a video game, you just restart the game. You
Right.
know what I mean? There's no will. You know what I'm saying? No desire to keep going, like as if you were playing another team physically, and you're down by three and you got 2 more minutes to go. There's an urge to and a desire to step it up and do all you can to actually come back and win. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree, and I want to give a tip. So if you're out there, if you're listening, whatever your age is, tip, the tip of the day from Jeff is that if there's a game you can either play on your phone or a video game, there's a game you can play that way that you can also play in person. Go out and do it in person.
Hmm. Hmm.
Go and do it in person. You're gonna it's gonna you're gonna feel so much better. It's kind of like a wellness tip.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of those video console games that I mentioned was the Wii, and they had like setups that you can add to the controllers or whatnot, where you can like ski or walk or jump around or whatever. And it's not the same. You know what I mean? It's you're interacting, you're engaging, but it's so different. When you do it like that, it's really almost a disservice to exercise. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, sure, of course. I mean, you could play video game tennis, or you could go out and play tennis in person. Play, you could play online chess, or you
Mhm.
can play, as they say, over the board. In person. And
Mhm.
they're definitely not the same. I mean, yeah, I'm a people person, so I value in person interaction. I like to hear. I like to I like to know where people are coming from, and so that could, you listen to what people say, and that's going to let you know what's in their head and what's in their heart. You can get a sense of the personalities. There's really and even just unspoken things, kind of like what the vibe is. Well, I like your vibe. That's what that means. But you can't get a vibe sitting there by yourself in front of your TV and you're playing against somebody, however many miles or states or even countries away.
Absolutely. And also you can play the computer, which is not even like interacting with other people at all anyway. So yeah, I definitely follow you on that statement as well as your other statements. And so now we want to kind of highlight the differences is what we kind of hit on slightly, but we're going to focus on them pretty directly now. Uh, so the difference in the competitiveness of the games back then is more of a relaxed state today in the games that's played. What are your thoughts on that?
It is more relaxed now than than before, and I feel like also the games also another difference is that the games today are more really about bragging. I think just to
Yeah,
be able to brag that you actually won. That seems to be more of an emphasis as opposed to for me when I would play the other games. I was playing because of that great feeling that I would have as a result. I just spent a bunch of energy and I had some fellowship
yeah, yeah.
along the way. That was more of it. Yeah, you wanted to win, but that just made it sweeter. But there was no element of bragging or wanting to show somebody up. That wasn't part of it.
Right, absolutely. You mentioned fellowship. That's a strong word, and I think that's very relevant to what we're talking about here. Uh, they don't have that today. The interaction, the fellowship, the friendship, the bonds that these other games that we play coming up create. I mean, I'm talking about my friend Brian, and you're talking about your friend from childhood. Those memories stick with you, and you have something to kind of, even if you forget about it, you remember it through conversation, but like we have it now. Those are good childhood memories, and they bring back the youth, I guess, for a moment and make you smile. Um, the next one here, unless you have something to elaborate on.
One more thing, I feel like the games of before relied more on imagination and what we could you or one of the other kids could come up with, even in terms of uh, we even invented games. Like again, I
Oh
had a
yeah,
game
yeah,
that
yeah.
I played. It was a combination of it was like playing baseball, except that it was played with a tennis ball and a tennis racket. And again, from third to home, you could hit people with the ball from that, and or the game off the wall. Where you're throwing the ball against the wall, and as a defensive player, you got once your opponent hits the ball, you got to field that ball while it bounces no more than once. And if you bobble the ball, you got to take off and touch the wall before someone else picks up the ball and hits you with it. And if you bobble the ball 3 times, then it's a different thing. You got to run from one end of the wall to the other, where everybody gets like one shot at a time to try to peg you
Hmm.
with the ball. But it was more of emphasis on creative, and now I feel like the games are all just you're not doing the creative process. The creative thing is just handed to you.
Right. Exactly. Oh wow, that was perfect. You used the term invention, which is incredible because we thought of and created a lot of things as children coming up, that I guess the generation now are lacking because they're not out there experiencing those events that we experience, and it's kind of shutting down those creative processes, and they're just becoming more of a couch potato.
Yes, I agree with that.
Mhm. Wow.
Yes, it is becoming more of a couch potato, and I think that I think that more people are growing up today without learning those critical social skills. Which
Hmm.
is very important in terms of your workforce relationships. And then you interact in business, even in terms of making friends and socializing as adults.
Yeah,
If you're
absolutely.
not interacting much in person as a kid, you're really not giving your when everyone's open and friendly, and it's easy to talk to somebody that you don't know, rather than how it is now. It's much harder for adults to make friends, and people don't talk to people that you don't know. It's kind of a reservation there, but I feel like people are ultimately learning less social etiquette.
Wow. Exactly. And I mean that's so perfect. I don't even have anything else to say. It's just perfect. So another difference that I've noticed is dedication and playing to win versus playing to lose. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, normally when you play not to lose, you end up losing. So you should always play to win. And
Uh-huh.
if you get a big lead, that's not the time, or any kind of lead. I mean, that's not the time to go conservative and play not to lose. I mean,
Mhm.
why wouldn't you just continue to do,
Absolutely.
what you've done successfully, to that point?
Yeah, and I usually do when my sons are playing or the younger generation is playing, and I got a little extra energy. I go out and we'll play like 21 in basketball.
Yeah, I played
Uh,
that as a kid. I used to play
yeah,
21. Yes.
and then they've been playing already, so they like have 14, 15. And I said, I'm gonna jump in. Well, the game's almost over. I said, no, it's not. It's just starting. you
Yeah,
know,
right, right,
and
right.
and then I get in there and I'll play and I end up with 21 before they get to 21. They're like, wow, how what happened? How did that happen? I was like, well, I got experience and I got to bring my skill, and I don't play to lose. I play to win. I do everything I can because I already know I'm down. So I'm gonna do everything I can to play with precision so that I can catch up and then eventually win. The generation now, they don't have that type of drive or determination. They get down by 2 points and they're throwing in the towel. They don't want to play anymore. What are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree, and I want to add that normally in life, when you get outside your comfort zone, you often experience the greatest reward. I mean, really good things happen that are unexpected, or you discover a side of yourself that you didn't know existed, and that kind of intersects with when people when you're just doing like the safe thing, the thing that doesn't require any thought, the thing that's kind of playing not not to lose.
Absolutely. And you mentioned your experience learning a side of yourself that you didn't know existed. Um, that's awesome that you say that because in today's society, there's so much limiting and
Yes.
limitations and boundaries that kind of keep you from challenging yourself to go beyond that or to try to just see what you're capable of doing. You know what I mean? So I'm glad you mentioned that because in today's world, people don't even have a drive anymore. They just accept and they come up with statements like, "Oh, it is what it is," or "This is all we can do." What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of times something is not all that you can do. It's all that you can do if you're going to if you're going to continue to do what you do, if you're going to continue to do things, just because that's the way that it always was. I
Hmm.
mean, in anything that's established now, somebody was the first person to do it.
Absolutely.
And another thing too, intersecting with that, just different angle. I feel like it's really. I'm a dreamer, okay,
Yeah.
I believe in chasing down dreams. Try. I would rather try and fail, in the process of trying to turn a dream into reality. I feel like that's more satisfying. That's better than than to have never than to have just stayed safe and to have never tried. I mean, how are you going to achieve greatness? However, it is that anybody defines that. How are you going to be the best version of yourself? How are you going to maximize your potential? How are you going to make the greatest impact in the world and leave behind a legacy of having made the world a little bit better in whatever slight way that is? If you're not going to go after something do something that's passionate you're passionate about, if you're not going to try to turn a dream into reality, if you're not going to try and do something that people say is impossible to do or that never was done, if the whole human race as a whole took that approach,
Hmm.
man, we would never have any advances. We would never have any breakthroughs
Absolutely.
at all.
Well put. And you use the terms maximize the potential. Fantastic. That's so important in today's society uh, because everybody's just mediocre or they don't care or they just don't have a reason, or they give themselves reasons not to maximize their potential, which is kind of a sad place that we're in, for the
I,
most part.
yeah, I feel like many people as well. They're content to just be average. They're content to just simply to be just another face of the crowd. No better, no worse, than, nor distinguishable, from anyone else.
Hmm.
And I think that that's sad. I think that's where I think striving for individuality and to make your mark comes in. And another thing that I notice as well is very prevalent is I think by and large, um, many of us are really not committed to living a balanced life.
Mm.
Where there's a sufficient amount of play and,
Hmm.
and social. I mean, people just you know wake up, eat, you go to work, you come home, you eat something, maybe watch an hour or two of TV, go to sleep,
Hmm.
wash, rinse, repeat. Maybe, maybe have something fun to do on the weekend, just living for the weekend. Whereas if you coordinate your schedule, if you organize it, there's no reason why you can't take care of your obligations, responsibilities, your work, the things you have to do in life, and then, come 7 o'clock, come 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock. Heck, even if it needed to be 7:30, then do something recreational for something fun for a few hours, and you know there's still time, plenty of time to do that, and get a good night's sleep. But just living for the weekend, or man, I hate this. I can't wait until I retire.
Ah,
That's horrible. I
yeah.
remember I worked at a dead end job for 6 months, and I hated it. I lived for the weekend. It was a drudgery every time I had to go out the door. And after about 6 months of just toughing it out, I'm like, look, I can't do this no more.
Hmm.
I'm quitting this. I'm going to go in this direction, that direction. Even though in the short term I'm going to take a pay cut, you know what? I'm going to be more happy and than what I am now. And plus, I have an exit strategy. I might take an initial step back, but I'm doing that so I can advance, 2 or 3 steps further than that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wow. So the things that the video game era is kind of introducing to this generation is, idleness, weak will, uncertainty, um, things of that nature. You know, building doubt, building anxiety. Uh, I guess the games of yesterday, they were high level, as far as your effort and your energy that you put into it, and what's here now, it involves no effort. Um, so, what are your thoughts there?
I completely agree, and I want to add that the games of yesterday I felt were in a lot of ways were ultimately in a larger scheme. While we might not have realized it as kids, but just reflecting back, it was more about balance.
Yeah.
And I think that's why parents, teachers, coaches,
Hmm.
mentors. That's why they pushed us to play. I mean, really, it was setting us like in a balance, and it was like a balance of life, and space to express yourself.
Absolutely. So we're going to kind of look at the results of the differences, then versus now. Um, then you got overachievers, now underachievers. Uh, then skilled individuals, now unskilled individuals. Then you were fit and in shape, now you're out of condition. Um, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And for me, I still to this day I love exercising in the context of playing sports or in the context of doing something fun, as
Hmm.
opposed to just doing straight calisthenics, as opposed to like just I'm just gonna run on a treadmill, or I'm just gonna run, or I'm just gonna jog, for cardio. It's better. It's more fun, like to ride a bike or to play any of those other sports where I'm doing all this cardio, but I'm not focused on the fact that I'm doing all this cardio. I'm not even really paying attention, and ultimately I can get more output to it. So I think that maybe they're just caught up in the games of today. They're missing out on all of that.
Absolutely, and I think the games uh, in our youth were more geared towards relieving stress. You know, we didn't have the things that the people are dealing with nowadays. We were focused. We had goals. We were, I guess, geared to be professionals. That was the strive. That was the goal, to be professional in whatever you pursued. Um, Now it's like there's none of that. They're feeling hopeless. They're feeling depressed. Um, we improved our relationships, and now it's more like they're paralyzed from taking action. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I want to add that I feel like in a lot of ways, you know, playing sports in person really was about facilitating growth.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's yeah.
And I just don't look. Once in a blue moon, I play video games. I mean, I have an Xbox, which there's one game, Call of Duty, that I'm lucky I'm able to play because it's too many buttons, and it's too much to keep on track. But but I mean, maybe once every 2 3 months I might play one game, but
Mhm.
you know I don't. I don't perceive that uh, playing that just doing primarily just playing video games by yourself. I don't perceive that really in any way stimulates growth. I think
Uh,
it's I think it's minimal. I don't feel like it helps you to grow up and to facilitate your personality. And more than anything, I feel like it was easy for me to identify with click with people after playing sports in person. That might be the basis for a conversation.
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely,
good
absolutely.
game. Yo, you did this, you did that, or yeah, hey, where you live? Yo, when can we get together and play again? When's the next time we're gonna play? And all
Absolutely.
those conversations. But you're by yourself in the living room in front of the TV. That conversation's not helping. That's not happening. So I think things in moderation. So I mean, if you play some video game, I could see how playing video games might be like part of a mix, but it
Mhm.
should it, it should be it should be in moderation. I don't feel like it should be like the main part or a lot of time. Certainly not the whole picture. There's a whole world out there of people, of relationships, of life experiences, and we gotta get outside and do activities outdoors in order to experience those things, to come across them, to encounter them.
Absolutely. And I got one more point I want to stress from the differences of the physical games versus the electronic device games. Um, we are more verbal. We express our needs, and we set our boundaries. Um, you know, we have genuine connections with others, um, and as opposed to uh, a decrease in our mental wellness. Uh, you mentioned earlier creative thinking, um, and problem solving, and now it's more of a performing on autopilot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And really, strategy and thinking. I mean, that's part of develop in a way I can't really fully synthesize. I mean, that's also part of brain development.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
games that I played also as kids. Because remember, I talked a little bit in my last answer about doing a little, having like a mix. I remember as a kid just uh, playing marbles or
Oh
otherwise known
yeah.
as Chinese checkers, but not like flicking the marbles and try to knock them around, but more like you got to get all your marbles out the house and into the other person's house before. So
Hmm.
now you're jumping, looking for the best move, and setting up the future move. So
Hmm.
games like that, games like chess, or you play spades, and you're trying to you're reading the board, but also trying to read what your partner has, what
Hmm.
other people have in their hands. That's all part of brain brain development.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's basically life. you
Yeah,
know.
listen, I played chess in life. I'm making this move now, and it's for me to be able to do this next jump in the future. So I can play this combination after that.
Hmm. And then basically, what in the generation we are in is we have a situation and we act on it. We respond, we adjust, we figure it out, we solve it. And nowadays it's more of what do I do? I don't know what to do. Um, you know what I mean? So it's a
Yeah.
big difference in um, how things are handled, how things are, you know, just processed and resolved. A lot of things aren't getting resolved today, which is sad. People just want to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. But what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it?
Right,
you know?
right, right. Conversations work when it leads to actions afterwards, and we're going to identify something, look for possible solutions, and then we're going to take action. Nothing's going to change if you're just going to stay in the same place if you don't take any action.
Absolutely. So that's Jeffrey. That's really all I got for today. Hopefully,
That was
you
a lot.
enjoy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully, you enjoyed yourself today, and hopefully, everyone that's listening now or later gets the points that we were stressing out of the childhood games and the structure involved and all that other good stuff. Any last words?
Yes, I would like to call attention just to an adult game that I'm a co-owner of. It's called Recharge Beyond the Bars Reentry Game,
Okay.
and it facilitates formerly incarcerated people with reconnecting with friends and family through icebreaker type questions.
Okay.
So I just wanted to mention that, and it's good for making new relationships as well. So just wanted to mention that. I mean, that's certainly interactive, and it's in person. It definitely requires thought for answers that are given. So check it out, rechargethegame.com.
Absolutely. Anything else going on with you that you like to highlight?
Well, just that my nonprofit organization, we're to date we've have been able to free 14 people. We helped
Nice.
pass 3 laws, and another six as key members of the coalition group. It could happen to you. So we are pushing policy changes in New York, some measures that would prevent wrongful convictions caused by coerced false confessions.
Wow.
That's been the cause of wrongful convictions in 29% of the cases. So, uh, at present, any custodial interrogations that happen between law enforcement and civilians has to be videotaped. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, there's exceptions when it comes to homicide, sex offenses, drug cases. So we're pushing a change in New York that would get rid of those exceptions. Let's have everything on camera. We'll go to a complete and accurate instant replay. We're not going to rely on people's memories and leaving things out inadvertently or intentionally with ban police from lying to suspects in the course of interrogations, recognizing that's inherently coercive. So that's called a police deception bill. So we're working on those two things in New York. What's called the Youth Interrogation Act, which would mandate that kids 16, 17, and younger that they
Hmm.
have to speak to a lawyer to explain what their rights are before they could then decide that they want to waive to speak to the police without a lawyer present. So working on that in New York and Pennsylvania, a border state of New York, which is where I'm at, is one of 12 states that doesn't compensate exonerees. So if so let's say, God forbid, someone was arrested and found guilty of a crime they didn't commit. Many
Hmm.
years later, their innocence is proven in court. You would think, just as reflexively, instinctively, that that person would be owed, some financial compensation. That's a tool to put their life back together again.
Yeah.
And then just in terms of pain, getting paid for pain and suffering. I mean, it's something that's easy to understand. But Pennsylvania at the moment has no law on the books, so
Wow.
working on trying to pass that. So I just wanted to highlight that. And lastly, again, my ultimate dream is to have a chapter of the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice in each state and ultimately in each country. I really see this as a worldwide problem. In countries where we don't hear about wrongful conviction, it's not because they're not happening, it's because nobody's getting exonerated, because nobody's digging, nobody's looking. We do have a crowdfunding page on the site, on the website Patreon. So if you Google Patreon Destiny Foundation, my dream would be if there's 25,000 people that were willing to donate $3 to $5 a month on a recurring monthly basis, that would give us close to $1 million, and we could have additional lawyers, paralegals, investigators, other essential personnel. So we could work on bringing even more people home that are in prison for crimes that they didn't commit.
Wow, that's incredible, man. That is a great thing that you're doing. And I wish you a lot of success and all the success in everything that you're trying to do now and in the future. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, Jeffrey Deskovic, and I am your host, Evolution, and this is That's Life. Y'all take care.